Welcome and thank you for being with us on a Tuesday night on behalf of First Amendment Sports. I'm Ken Marangolo. He's Tim Strachan.
What's going on, man? I got to tell you, you might be hearing a lot of noise in the background for two reasons. One is I got a 1-year-old who's a maniac right now and is learning how to defy going to sleep, and a 12 and 11-year-old daughter's trying to wrangle him with my wife. But two, because it's Victory Tuesday, baby. We did something that nobody thought, even 2/3 of us said wasn't going to happen because we just didn't think we were there. But guess what? We're there. We did it. We took down the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers. It's Victory Tuesday. I'm not going to apologize for a rowdy bunch. I'm going to let them be rowdy if they want to be rowdy because we can be, brother.
Thank God it's Tuesday. I want to say welcome back to all of my friends, the rowdy bunch that is Hogs Haven. Appreciate you guys for being with us on the official Washington football team podcast of Hogs Haven. We are here every week, every Tuesday night, usually in triplicate. We're missing Kevin tonight. We miss you. We will see you back here next week. Tonight, T and I will carry the water. It is Victory Tuesday, and it's a fun Tuesday because we're coming off a win less than 24 hours ago. I got to be honest with you. I'm still recovering. It was a happy hour game on top of everything else. I'm just fixing my wire. My wire's all over the place tonight. Just everyone knows, we wear all the hats. I'm producing. I'm mixing the board.
Rowdy bunch everywhere, man.
So we had a happy hour Monday night game. The first game of the night, obviously, makes it fun, I guess, because everyone's watching it. The prospect of knocking off an undefeated team at the beginning of the night. So not to go through every single second of that game, but the familiar feeling that everything was going against us almost deliberately and on purpose. As a Washington fan, I know many fan bases feel it. I know a lot of teams and their fans always kind of think the world's out to get them, but they're all wrong. The world's out to get us. Case in point, that terrible review, which resulted in the wrong call. Logan Thomas extended that ball for a first down. It was clear on the replay. Both Burkhart and Johnston on the call called it correctly. I don't understand how that went against us. But, it just leaves you with that taste like – no matter what we do, it's going to be partly our fault, because we can't pick up a muff punt and give ourselves an early Christmas present. We can't do that. But then we also can't get the call, T.
Yeah, look, here's the good and the bad to it, right? For the first time in a long time that I can remember, I'm watching a Redskins game, watching a football team game, and I got knots in my stomach. Yep. The whole time, my mood is changing with the game. I'm into it, and even though I'm having some angst and I want to puke after Alex Smith throws his 15th 5-yard crossing pattern in a row, regardless of what the situation is or what the down and distance is, or whether it was before the change when we had to get past the change or not. The next thing you know, he's throwing again for over 300 yards. And he's winning a game against a team that we had no business beating at that time. But the resilience of the team was unbelievable. And I let out a scream when we had that interception at the end of the game that my family and my kids looked at me and didn't think it could come out of my body. I didn't think it could either. It was unbelievable. It was a great feeling.
It's for all of the things we didn't do to help ourselves. There were so many things that we did do. At this point in time, I want to say special shout out to all of our friends on the boards. If this is your first time watching the show, do yourself a favor, subscribe to First Amendment Sports YouTube channel. It's free, and you get to join the conversation. Robert Cohen, AGH, E.O. Anderson, James Rainey, our main man, Greg, who is on the Big Island down in Hawaii where he watched the game yesterday. All you folks, please, please, please enjoy yourselves on this Tuesday night. I know you will. You always do. Love having you. T, even though we didn't do the things that let's be honest, haven't done to help ourselves, there were so many things we didn't do that put the game out of reach. And, the manner in which we won this game is very much the story of our season. We were out of it early, down 14-0, that feeling that the score says 14-0, there's no way in hell it should be 14-0. We should be in this game, and how are we not in this game? And is this an 11-0 team about to, beat us the way that only the Rams have all season? And yet there was just this grind that happened, and it didn't look pretty at all. In fact, it was frustratingly ugly. The short passes, the inability for our offense to muster much of anything to help out our defense, and yet they just didn't give up. And to me, as we'll get into more of the kind of nitty-gritty of the game, the big picture for me is we won this game the way that we've fought our way back into the season, and for that reason, it's not a fluke. It's not a bad team beating a good team in a trap game. It's not an 11-0 team, getting its one loss out of nowhere. The Washington football team was ultimately the best team after 60 minutes were played, and it was largely because of the defense, and I think that was crystal clear. But to take away what our offense was ultimately able to accomplish, I think wouldn't be fair to Ron Rivera, Scott Turner, and Alex Smith, who as a trio have formed this bond that is like the leading our week 14, week 15 charge, going forward. These three guys especially have formed something, that isn't showing up in the stat box, but it's real.
Look, here's even more evidence how and why Disney is behind this whole thing. I am 1,000% in on this because of what Alex Smith is doing. But also, the football purist in me is saying this is truly how team football is supposed to be played. They're using the fundamentals of what you do to build a great team, a great organization, right? You have a very good defense. They're very, very fortunate to have certain pieces, especially up front. And it's being led by the rookie and best football player on his team, Chase Young. And as you said, it's not all about sacks. That guy disrupts the game no matter where he is.
Yep.
And no matter whether he's making the tackle or not, he's helping other people do their job too. It's a team game. It's almost going down to the bare knuckles, like Vince Lombardi style, man. That's what Ron Rivera is doing. And he's doing it while overcoming cancer. Are you serious? I mean, the storylines in this team right now are unbelievable. You got the comeback player of the year, the coach of the year, and the defensive rookie of the year. What?
And it's interesting because on the other side of the ball last night, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger missed all season last year, most of it, and he's come back and had a good season. But the comeback player of the year award is more than just what you do when you come back. It's also what you come back from. And there's just no story that's more compelling than Alex Smith and what he's done. Special hi and hello to Rhett and Keegan. If I see you jumping on this board, you're going to get a Christmas greeting from T and I. I know Keegan was completely knotted up emotionally, the same as us watching this game, as was Rhett. I hope his wife isn't watching because Rhett put a hand-sized handprint into some drywall last night that will be part of his basement for years to come. And I'm going to enjoy looking at that spot whenever I go visit his house. The game was infuriating. There was moments that made you wonder if not even if we were going to lose the game. It made you wonder if we deserve to win. Enough games to make the play. I mean, it was just the things that we did that we didn't do well enough at certain points of the game were so infuriating. Trying to pass the ball on the 1 yard line a couple times. I thought, I would have liked to have seen them try to pound that in. Obviously the penalties that gave the Steelers extra chances, and ultimately Um, I think when all was said and done, the players on the field that we've been counting on all season long. We talk about Chase, talk about Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, but for God's sake, Montez Sweat, the way he shows up, is. I mean, I don't know. We couldn't do 5 wins, 5-7. We couldn't do any of what we've done this season without Montez Sweat. As good as anyone else on our entire team is, he is such an impact, such a game changer and a difference maker for us. And he's not even the first person whose name we say on that defense, which just goes to show you how good that defense is.
Yeah, first of all, that goal line stand that you were talking about, I thought it was going to take all 8 tries. I really did. That's what you mean by, you just know something bad's going to happen. But again, we talk about this, and you bring it up all the time. We look at this not as Monday morning quarterbacks or anything like that. We look at it as fans watching the TV show. And if you're looking at it this way, it's brilliant because this is the point of the season of the TV show where a couple new characters have to step up, right? Whether it's Game of Thrones or it's Ozarks or whatever, pick your poison, whatever the show may be.
Just time out. Just the fact that you said Game of Thrones is people who haven't watched the show long enough have to really just take a step back and understand that he called Kevin and I nerds for like 4 years on this show for watching Game of Thrones, and now he's a convert. So go ahead, and you're right. It's a great show.
It's introducing those supporting characters when your main characters may be a little bit flawed, right? Yep. They kind of keep the interest going, and so you want to thank you to Cam Sims. Are you kidding me? Coming up with plays when they absolutely needed it. Logan Thomas, he might not be a rounded out tight end completely yet. That dude's a football player. No matter how you slice it, he's a football player.
He can play on my team,
right? Those kind of guys. McKissick, what he was able to do this week, and with Antonio Gibson going down and him taking a bigger load, and I mean, it was just unbelievable to see those guys start stepping up and playing this team ball, because you can be 11-0 in the NFL, but that was the better team at the end of the night. That was horrible football overall by both teams. Drop passes all over the place. Laundry all over the place, but it was entertaining as hell, man. It was like a roller coaster ride.
Last week, as T alluded to, and we don't need to spend too much time on it, I actually picked a win with a riverboat 2-point conversion at the end. It felt as dramatic as that, but really what I was focused on was this idea that, and Rhett laughs at me when I say it because I was saying it that was my big thing all last night. Professional athletes, no matter the sport, are creatures of habit. They need things are done a certain way at a certain time, and it's programmatic and it's planned. You do this on Monday, you do this on Tuesday, you do this on Saturday, you do this on Sunday. Everything about the Steelers' schedule has been completely messed up for over a week now. The debacle of rescheduling that Ravens game last week multiple times, moving this game, not just from the normal game day on Sunday to Monday, but like at a weird Monday time. It wasn't even a normal Monday game day schedule. And if that sounds weird to you, trust me, every team in the league has a normal Monday. If you play on Monday, there's a normal schedule that you do to take care of that. They were completely at odds with their bodies and their program. And I think that showed in many different ways throughout the night. I want to tip my hat again to Cam Sims, who is absolutely taking advantage of a huge opening on our future roster. And on the other side, same name, same awesome game, Cam Curl. The idea that these two guys, if they can carve out roles on our team, they sure do help us address other issues on a going forward basis. The playoffs is in our grasp. We've been talking about it being a road to 7 wins. Getting 7 wins should win the East. I still think that's probably right.
Not after the Giants take down Seattle, which no one saw coming. And when that happened, you were like, "Damn!"
Yeah, so again, this is something I talked about today on Hogs Haven, which is after all these years, Seattle beating us in 3 straight playoff games, which has left a terrible taste in so many people's mouth, and yet for some reason, and I don't even know how to explain it, I just never hated Seattle. I don't know why. They're just too far away. What did I expect in some of these games? I don't know. But for whatever reason, I just never got there with a true hatred for Seattle. I got there this week. When they laid an egg against Colt McCoy and Alfred Morris, it absolutely shocked me and blew me away, and it put the nail in the coffin for how I feel about the Seattle Seahawks from this day forward. For a long time, and I don't know how it's ever going to change. I have serious disdain for the Seattle Seahawks. They're like up there. They're going to be right after my NFC East teams that I can't stand. They're right up there with Pittsburgh. Because let's talk about this, T. We haven't beat Pittsburgh since 1991. Incidentally, we beat them in 1991 on our way to 11-0, which is an interesting yet fun fact. They've owned us in every possible respect. They and more than that, more than just this feeling I have in my gut of we're playing Pittsburgh so we're going to lose, which is a real thing because that's what's happened for almost 30 years, longer than so many fans on Hawks Haven have even been alive. They've never even experienced a win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. More than that, as a guy who went to FedEx every single Sunday for over a decade, that Monday night game that'll live in infamy at FedEx Field against Pittsburgh when they took over the stadium, and they did, and I hated it, and it still makes me sick. I feel nauseous just thinking about it. That's another franchise that I absolutely can't stand, and getting not only do we beat them, but we're going to get a chance to take a swipe at the Seattle Seahawks before it's all said and done. 2 teams that I now rate just below Dallas, Philly, and New York. 2 teams that we can put, on our resume. What did we talk about last week? If you fancy yourself a playoff team, if you think you can make any noise whatsoever when the season is over, you can't do it unless you have something on that resume that says it's possible. Well, now we have it, and we're going to get a chance to add to it.
Yeah, no, this is a huge signature win in the Ron Rivera, debut season. I don't have as much vitriol for Seattle or Pittsburgh as you do, because I think I spent a lot more of it on just the NFC East foes. It sucks that the Giants have those 2 wins over us, or else this wouldn't be as uncomfortable as it is. But hell, I'd rather be uncomfortable in this position than be still talking about whether or not we're going to take Trevor Lawrence or not. This is a hell of a lot more fun, dude.
Yeah,
a hell of a lot more fun, and I hope those guys that you talked about that may never have seen a win against Pittsburgh because they're under 30 years old, I hope they're feeling the same way, because we know what that felt like at one point. And I'm not saying we'll win the Super Bowl, but this is how you learn to win. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. These guys are learning how to win. And maybe that's what is genius about Ron Rivera, because he has those, pure football, that purest football mentality of what it takes to build winners. And to see it this quick in a weird year like this, I'll take it.
Well, that's the thing. That's why we don't root for losses in draft position, because ultimately what we're rooting for is improvement.
Better.
What's that?
Yeah, this is so much better.
It's so much better. It's
much better.
All we want, what we've been saying it since the beginning of the season, all we want to see is improvement. All we want to see is an organization that isn't dog crap turn into something that is respectable and has a chance. And that's what we're watching. And 5 and 7 ain't pretty, but it's and I've said this before, and I think Robert Cohen will remember this. It's an uglier, brand of halfway decent than but at the same time it is not putrid. It is not that terrible awfulness that we've been, so accustomed to seeing at different points, over the last 20 years. The interesting thing, not to focus too much on other teams, but Arizona and the Giants do play each other. Both of those teams kind of sit ahead of us or right above us in the pecking order. The weird thing about the 2020 playoffs is they got that seventh team now, that extra, in which we're only one game out of that seventh spot, and some of those teams above us bang up against each other, and we get a crack at a couple of them ourselves. The 49ers and the Seahawks specifically. I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about the 49ers. That is the game we have coming up this week. I almost feel like calling them the football team, the San Francisco football team, the manner in which I watched so many of, really former Redskins. You can say that because that's what they were when they played, in Washington. They were Redskins. Jordan Reed, Trent Williams. There was a Tom Compton sighting. He's still in the league, still playing offensive line. He's back starting. I loved me some Tom Compton when he was here in Washington, and he's really become a journeyman. I think he's played for a different team in each of the last 4 or 5 seasons. But leave it to Kyle Shanahan to take from our team whatever he can and formulate something out there in San Fran. Arguably our 2 best offensive players on a lot of Sundays in the last 5, 6, 7 years, that being Trent Williams and Jordan Reed, are now lining up for the 49ers. What do you think we have the capability of doing against San Francisco, knowing full well what they're going to try to do against us, which is run?
Listen, I think at this point, this past game, and Ron Rivera talked about it before, that was a character check game. All right? That was you show me what kind of a person you are when you're out there on that football field. And I think they just take that mentality. Who cares about matchups at this point? Who cares about strategy at this point? I think if Ron Rivera keeps taking that approach and challenging these guys, I mean, they'll get the X's and O's, together and we'll figure it out. But if they just play with that effort, that's all you can ask for at this point, right? I mean, I don't want to overanalyze basically what I'm saying.
I think that because we are in a position where, as we go week to week, getting to 7 wins, you only need 2 more. We can do better than that officially now because we're starting to get wins that maybe we weren't expecting to get. The effort and hustle aspect. One thing I've always said, and it was kind of like a anthem for me over the years, both in the parking lot ahead of games over the last 20 years, as well as being in the living rooms and basements, getting ready to watch, and that is stopping the run in the NFL. It's not skill, it's heart. You have to be willing to put your body in the way of another man who's going to try his hardest to run you over. And what Kyle Shanahan is doing out there is awesome because he has running backs in Mostert and Wilson, and he's rolled a couple other guys out there who are willing to run into a wall 20, 25 times a game. But that's what we have. We have a wall, and we have the people who actually have the heart and the willingness to stop the run. And how many times, T, have we watched defenses coached by our team who were sieves against the run? And it's not. I mean, you got to be able to tackle at the end of the day, but you have to have the heart and the willingness, and that's what I think Rivera and Jack Del Rio are doing best at right now.
Well, you know what, Kyle Shanahan, and I don't even know who their defense coordinator is. Go ahead and scheme against Chase Young on the goal line, having our own goal line stand early in the game. Go ahead and scheme against that. Stop that, because you're only going to stop it with 2, maybe 3 guys, which is going to free up Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen. You can't do it. You can't do it if they all give that maximum effort that they give. When was the last time you gave a Washington football team any chance on the goal line that they were going to stop them at that point? Tell me the last time you thought that was going to happen. I didn't Monday night.
No. And then that's two goal line plays.
What Chase Young did, chasing that play down the line like that.
That's twice. That's twice he's done that, because he did it against the Bengals when he knocked Joe Burrow down at the 1-inch line and knocked the ball loose and saved a touchdown on that play. And then the tackle he had last night, that's 2 touchdowns. He's personally, and he had some help on that goal line last night. But I mean, for God's sake, you can hand the ball off 40 times a game against our defense, but I don't think you're going to see a much different effort on the 40th carry as you do on the first. And that's where I love our chances, because if we're going to try to make Nick Mullins beat us with his arm, I say good luck. I'll take that chance, because I don't believe in my heart that San Francisco is going to beat us with the run, and that's what they're going to try to do. And if that's what they're going to try to do, then they'll fail. Let's talk about our offense for another quick second. We talked about Logan Thomas. Let's talk about number 17, Terry McLaurin. Man, he got a little bit covered up because that's what they had to do. I mean, Pittsburgh said it. They were going to come out and stop Gibson, and they were going to come out and stop McLaurin. With Gibson out of the game, they were able to focus on McLaurin, and man, did they ever. I loved seeing him come back to the huddle. What's that?
Moose Johnson said the entire game long that, not only did he have a guy directly over top of him, he always had a safety also over top of him. They bracketed him all day. But that's the genius of who he is.
Yep.
He's going to have games like this where they're going to take him away, and a Cam Sims has to come up with, huge 3rd and long plays. But Cam Sims doesn't get a chance to make those plays if Terry McLaurin isn't the focal point of them trying to shut down the Redskins offense.
He was huffing and puffing coming back to that huddle. So, man, I mean, despite him not, being able to get the ball, you knew he was putting forth the effort. And in fact, that's, like to your point, that's how Logan Thomas and McKissick and Cam Sims were able to win one-on-ones, because they were getting one-on-ones because the defense was focusing so heavily on 17. And their defense Pittsburgh's defense made play after play after play after play when we were trying to go other places. Hats off to that guy, Hilton or Milton or whatever his name is, Mike Hilton. I mean, he had a hell of a game.
But listen, here's the other beauty of it, too. This is why he's also a captain. He's not bitching. He didn't get his yardage. He doesn't get his he did his job. And he was glad to do his job because they came out with a win. That's just, I don't want to gloss over it, but I also don't want to spend too much time on it. But that's just, this is great stuff that we're watching.
It is.
It's great.
It's great stuff. I did promise we have a special segment that we're debuting tonight. Now, we have the help of a very gifted young man. He's the son of one of our producers, Vic Maddox, and we really appreciate him spending a little time and some of his own creativity to make some slides for us. We're gonna go position group by position group as we move through this thing. He's photoshopped a few college players in the burgundy and gold, okay, and we are gonna start with a quarterback group tonight. And so I'm going to put some pictures up, and we're going to talk about their prospects of being, on our team. Again, we had this segment planned last week. Not that we didn't believe we were going to win and potentially be in a situation where we're probably not going to be able to draft any of these guys. We have some other position groups coming up that he's working on right now that might be more in line with an NFC East champions drafting position. But tonight we're going to get started with a quarterback group, and I'm trying to think of who I'm going to go with first. And how do you not go with this guy first? Oh, I'm sorry. That's not even who we're going to go with first. We're going to go with this guy first because we're not getting him. He's not coming here. But number 1, Trevor Lawrence. I had to put it up there because he is the absolute best in class. The dream is over. thankfully, we killed it with awesomeness. We killed the dream of Trevor Lawrence by being too good to draft him. But he's going to look good no matter what jersey he puts on.
Look, how long did the Cincinnati Bengals draft number one overall quarterbacks almost year after year after year, and we're just mired in misery?
Yeah.
It never really bodes well. It's not necessarily a great thing. Is he a great player?
Sure.
Yeah, I think he's a good player. I think anybody's going to be lucky to have him.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's the best thing for you. God bless him. I'm just glad we're not going to be in that conversation anymore.
I'm so happy. And if you didn't see or hear the little interaction between Mike Tomlin and Chase Young during the game last night, T, did you see that? Did you hear it? Mike Tomlin told he had Chase Young on the sideline, and his exact words, and maybe I'm getting a word or two wrong, is, "I'm so glad we don't lose enough games to be in position to draft a guy like you." He's like, you gotta lose 14, 15 games, to get a player that looks like you. And Chase Young was just like, yep, that's right. And Mike Tomlin was like, I don't ever want to lose that many games. I hope we don't ever have the chance to get a player like you. But Mike Tomlin was being respectful. Chase Young was being respectful. The point is, the Washington football team will not be getting a generational talent at number one overall if, in fact, that's what Trevor Lawrence is. Let's go with this guy here because I put him up first. Trey Lance. He is quite the player. The North Dakota State Bison. He's 6'4", 227. I don't know where he's going to go in the draft. I know in my heart, I think he's going to be a player. I don't think we're going to be drafting high enough to get him because I think of the players that aren't Trevor Lawrence, I think Trey Lance works his way into the hearts of general managers in this league in a similar fashion to the way Daniel Jones did over the course of the combine and the offseason, where all of a sudden he went from being a low first, top second to a guy that the Giants felt they had to take higher than anyone else, had previously thought. I think Trey Lance is that kind of player. I think he's a leader. I think he's a hell of an athlete. I think he can play at the next level. I think someone's going to be super happy that they weren't, fretting about whether to take Trevor Lawrence. I don't think we're going to be in position to get him, T, but I think Trey Lance is a player.
Yeah, I have no idea, nor have I spent any time wondering where Trey Lance is going to go in the draft,
This is what we
or whether
do.
he's going to come to the Washington football team. But here's where I'm sorry Kevin's not on tonight to talk about, because here's where he and I differ a lot of times when we talk about quarterbacks. Is that there's a trend, in my opinion, of where these future NFL quarterbacks are going to come from. They're not going to come from your Power 5 conferences more times than not. I think they're going to come from where Trey Lance is coming from, where the Carson Wentz come from, where the Allen,
Josh Allen
in Buffalo, where they come from. If you have the physical measurements and tools to get it done at that level, it doesn't matter where you're coming out of college. They're going to go find you. They're going to go find that you have a skill set to make it at the next level, whether you're at a mid-major or you're wherever. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that going forward.
Let me see. I lost the board here. I don't know if anyone's getting AGH is begging us not to do it because he does not want to draft a QB in the first round. Sorry, AGH. I'm going to go with another one here. Here we go. Justin Fields, the consensus, at least at the moment, the consensus number 2 overall pick, or number 2 overall quarterback, which should probably be the number 2 overall pick. Again, T, we killed the dream of Justin Fields with goodness, with 5 wins, with 5-7 amazingness. The dream of Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, in my mind, is dead. I'm happy to suggest that. I'm happy to be done, even considering it, as you said much better 5 minutes ago. Justin Fields ain't coming to FedEx. I think here's what I think about Justin Fields. Gifted athlete, amazing potential. I think he has to go to the right place. I don't think he's the kind of guy who can succeed anywhere. I think he's got to get the right coach. I think he's got to get the right personnel around him. And I don't you and other people know better than me. I just have that feel about him. I think he needs a little bit more help to be great, to be as great as he can be. And I think he can be great. I just think that he could also be ruined.
I would be happier than a hog and crap if we got a guy like Justin Fields.
Me too.
I think, and I think Kevin would be pretty shocked I'm about to say this, but I think he's more like a prototypical sized professional quarterback that plays a little bit more like a Kyler Murray. He's sort of a meld of it all. He's got all those tools. I don't know him personally, nor have I broken down his film to know how much he understands the passing or how to read defenses or to put all of that together at the next level. I just know he has the physical tools.
Yep.
And for a guy to have had that much pressure on you coming out of high school and to continue to deliver at a high level says a lot about you anyway. So I think anybody's going to be happy to get him. Maybe he needs to be in the perfect spot, but I think you can say that about anybody.
No, not the perfect spot. Not the perfect spot. I think it has to just be the right spot. Like, for example, I think Rivera and Scott Turner would be a great spot for Justin Fields. I think he could succeed in the system that Scott Turner runs, and I think that we already have the personnel on this team that he could benefit from. I just worry about wasting talent. I don't think
he's a guy.
I'm not saying Justin Fields would waste his talent. I'm saying in the NFL today, people waste talent of like Justin Fields, and it's the saddest thing ever. I'm not here to blame it on Justin Fields or even suggest that he would be at fault. I'm thinking there's teams in this league that still waste talent.
Yeah, I guess. I just think I think you can, look at Wentz. I mean, he didn't even move anywhere. Is he in a bad situation? He just done going broke. I mean, and that happens. The NFL is not. The NFL is not for long. Not everybody is a MVP All Pro candidate every single year. You can be gone the next day. I think Fields is a fantastic talent.
Yep.
We're probably not going to get him, but I actually think he's going to be very good at the next level.
This one's for Rhett Donnelly. Zach Wilson is the last one. Once again, thank you to Young Vic. We appreciate your hard work. We look forward to seeing the next two position groups, which will be an offensive line group, a tight end group, and a linebacker group we have coming up that we're working on. And I know the board's going to be most happy, I believe, with a linebacker and offensive line group. But Zach Wilson, just to give him some love, probably rose the most of any of the quarterbacks that will likely be taken in the first round over the last year. I don't think he was a first-round prospect a year ago. He is now. They took a bad loss to Coastal Carolina. I don't know that Zach played his best game. He looked good down the stretch. He throws the ball well. He looks like he has command of his system for the most part. I don't know how good he's going to be at the NFL level. I think the team that drafts him is probably going to be somewhere between 10 and 15, which could be us, maybe. Just to make the board happy and to make the people at Hawks Haven happy, I don't know that I'm in the draft a quarterback in the first round camp anyway. But
we have to draft a quarterback.
We do have to draft a quarterback.
You have to draft a quarterback.
If I can't get my hands on Fields or Lance, I don't know that I'm taking Wilson. Let's put it that way. I don't want a consolation prize quarterback. I'm not sold on Zach Wilson just quite yet. I think he may very well be available when we pick. But T, the beautiful part about getting to 5 wins and the thing that we've done for our draft position by winning and by rooting for wins is we've put ourselves in position to take a best player available at a couple different spots. And one thing I'm excited about is the tight end, position in the first round. There's a couple guys, most notably Kyle Pitts, the kid out of Florida, who's like a Darren Waller clone. He is the real deal. He's going to go in that same space, top 10, top 15 overall in the draft. He's going to come in somewhere. He's going to be a player right away. When you take yourself out of the Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields sweepstakes because you played your way out of it, now you give your general manager and your front office some options. How do you slice this pie up? And if Kyle Pitts is sitting there, when we pick, it's a need and it's BPA all at the same time.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, we got a lot of football left to play in the next few weeks before all this stuff shakes out.
That's right.
It's always fun to talk about. I'm not the draft guru like you guys are, but once we start getting a better picture, I guarantee you we're going to have a shot at getting a damn good player, no matter where we end up. Might not necessarily be where everybody thinks we should go right away, but we've seen what this team's been able to do, getting players that are making immediate impact. I hope we just continue the trend that we've seen so far.
And I'm not even convinced that we don't pick a defensive player in the first round, depending on where we pick, because there's a couple linebackers that will come in right away and play at a near Pro Bowl level. I'm thinking there's 2 or 3 of them that will be, again, available in that 10 to 15, maybe 10 to 20. That could start for us. And even though defense is a strength, there's nothing that says 2 linebackers who used to play in the league who are now coaching on our sidelines, and Del Rio and Rivera, if they see someone that they want to put on the field as their starting 11 on defense, they're going to take them. But on the offensive tackle front, again, once you're not drafting 2, 3, 4, and 5, where the best tackles are going to be taken, again, you get to make choices. And the better, the better you are during the season, the more fun that choice is. People want to say that the Patriots drafting 31st and 32nd so many times. I bet you that's one of the they had as much fun as any team in the league getting to watch the rest of the league pass on 30 guys. Or 30 teams pass on their guy, and getting to pay a guy next to nothing on a 4-year contract that almost always plays for the Patriots. So maybe I'm being a little bit wistful here on Victory Tuesday, suggesting we would draft so low. But that's
hey, you're allowed too tonight.
Again, we're less than now we're officially 24 hours past the close of when T screamed so loud it woke everyone up in Kensington. To revisit the storyline of the year once again, 17 surgeries, 1 leg, almost losing not just his career but his life. He comes back onto the field for Ron Rivera. And no better marriage of coach and quarterback in the league at this point during this season than Smith and Rivera. And what he doesn't do in the sexy Pat Mahomes, Russell Wilson style, he does in the win column and he does in the inspiration column. And if you've ever played football, that's as good as you want. That's as good as you need. That's where it all is. Getting the other 10 guys on the field on your side of the ball and the other 11 guys on the other side of the ball to give it up on every single second, on every single play. Alex Smith gets that out of his teammates. And if you don't think that this story is heading for something just a little bit cooler, something that's a little bit more magical, something that is a little bit more, mouse ears involved in it, then you're just not paying attention, because that is absolutely on its way. And I just believe that. I have always believed that, and I think it's happening right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, and they take the mean owner and make him the villain, and somehow get rid of him at the end of it all. That'd be like perfect, like little.
It's T. They're talking him out of the board right now. E.O. Anderson, our guy, who we'll have to see what he's sipping on tonight in his Spirit of Sunny. He's worried just like we are that somehow we're going to pay the price. In salary cap and draft picks. God, that would be the biggest mistake the NFL ever made. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot going our way, and I don't. Just to be clear, none of us are rooting for the terribleness that we may or may not find out about that happened on Dan Snyder's watch. I mean, if he stays the owner because nobody, was abused or objectified or preyed upon, that would be just fine. I'd love that. For that to have that bad stuff to have never happened. But if they get to the bottom of it and they determine, go ahead.
I'm kind of thinking like Major League. Remember when the woman owner was just despised? She was the villain, and they were taking off a piece of the cardboard with each win, like just to get her the hell out of there. Like that would be just a good little Disney twist to the whole thing. Get the villain out. Have the hero win, and everybody rides off into the sunset.
That, by the way, would be the worst Disney movie ever if there was a cardboard cutout of Dan Snyder wearing a sequin getup and they were peeling pizzas off of it after every win. That's terrible.
It reminded me of Major League. That's
oh my gosh. I don't know what to say.
Once again, we've gone over 1 minute too long.
1 minute too long. I want to say thank you to everybody here on the board tonight hanging out with us. We sure do appreciate you guys giving us your Tuesday time, getting involved in the conversation. I want to say thank you to Hawks Haven for being part of the conversation and being a landing spot for the continuing conversation of a team on its way on the rise. And I want to say thanks to Tim Strachan for helping keep me on the straight and narrow in this Tuesday night.
I'm going in and out. I think you were just signing off. Appreciate the board. Kevin, miss you, buddy. Hope to see you again next week. Looking forward to continuing some Victory Tuesday talk if we can. This is a lot of fun, boys. Let's keep it going, man.
Got work cut out for us on Sunday in the form of Kyle Shanahan and a very tough run offense. I think we got what it takes to take this one down. Prediction is 6-7 on our way to that magical destination. Until next Tuesday night, I'm Ken Marangolo, and this was Thank God It's Tuesday. See you guys next week. Thanks, everybody. Hey, EO, Robert Cohen, we are still live. And we're still live. Glenn Mangerie, is that right? Glenn Mangerie, EO? Appreciate it, buddy. Still live.